Hello and welcome to this complimentary video series that accompanies my book, Healing from Racism. I'm Lisa Jagona and I'm so glad you're here. In this video series, which I'm calling Healing from Racism, Lessons from the Tao Te Ching, I draw lessons from the Tao Te Ching to illuminate what racism is and examine where racism begins, how we internalize racism, and how we can begin to heal from racism. These reflections and analysis are offered in the faith that we can learn how to live in greater harmony with each other across difference. The Tao Te Ching is very much a book about harmonious living, and I am bringing that to relief, to think about how are we living with each other and how is our inability to find inner peace contributing to our collective inability to have and find peace with each other. In this video, I want to introduce you to the Tao Te Ching, tell you a little bit about the series and how it came to be, and give you some guidelines for engaging productively in the conversation. So first, a little bit about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching roughly translates to the book of the way and how it manifests itself in the world, or simply the book of the way. It is written by Lao Tzu, who lived approximately 400 BCE, and it's supposed that he was likely an archive keeper at a small kingdom. But it is a small book, and in 81 verses or chapters, it lays out a treatise for living a good life and governing wisely. It offers insights into the nature of reality, the meaning of life, and the way to live a good and fulfilling life. The text is written in poetic form, and I am going to use the Stephen Mitchell English translation, which he really tries to capture the spirit of the Tao Te Ching, and I think his version is very poetic and beautiful, and full of seeming paradoxes that have great depth. So my copy, that Stephen Mitchell English translation, came from my father's library. My father is a theologian and an Old Testament scholar, and he has all sorts of books in his library. Now, his library was a sacred space when we were growing up, and we were rarely allowed in there. But in my early 20s, I found my way there, and I found this book, and I was flipping through it, and I've kept it since. And over the past 7 years or so, I have read the Tao Te Ching on and off, but with some regularity. And I find it to be full of so many surprises. Every time I open to a page and revisit a passage that I've read many times before, I see it with new eyes. And as my life sort of evolves and I have different interactions, I'm able to see it anew. As I started writing the book, Healing from Racism, I turned to the Tao Te Ching more frequently, almost daily in some weeks, and the passages took on new meaning. I saw the warning signs that clearly and succinctly laid out the activities, the attitudes, and the manners of being that are the seeds from which systemic social racism grows. And we'll talk more about that. But in this series, I share and analyze this work with this lens of how do we heal ourselves from racism and the impacts of racism. And to do this, I extract a passage or a section and offer a thought connecting it back to this theme of healing from racism. Where appropriate, I do pull from historical examples where we can see how the passage captures a moment in history where we did the thing that we are cautioned against, and how that leads to conflict and the emergence of anti-Blackness racism specifically. I have come to believe that one of the most productive ways that we can untangle ourselves from the multifaceted and multi-tentacled beast that is racism is through conscious self-reflection and to think critically about long-held ideas that influence our way of being with each other, that serve us less and less as the world becomes more interconnected. And so, how can you engage with this series most productively? I invite you to read along with me, get a copy of the Tao Te Ching. There is a PDF version available online. You can just look that up for yourself. I encourage you to get a physical copy because it is a beautiful book to pick up as you are about to start your day. It's a beautiful meditation. And because the purpose of this video series isn't for me to dictate, I invite you to engage with the passages and offer your thoughts and reflections and feedback. I offer my reflections and my reading of it, but ultimately healing from racism is a collective act. And I believe, and in fact, I know that each of us has to do our own work for the collective to heal and build strength we need to push back against corrosive ideas that seek to blind us to our interconnectedness and interdependence. And these are ideas that would have us living in perpetual fear. And in that spirit, I sincerely invite you to engage and reflect over these ancient words and to share your comments, your thoughts, your ponderings, and your discoveries. I have one tip to make your engagement most productive. Really reflect before you send a message or comment. Take a pause and examine yourself. Notice what is showing up for you within. It is actually useful to notice that something is causing a strong reaction within you. Consider that feeling an invitation to do the work, to reflect on what you are thinking, what you are remembering, what this means for you. Examine yourself. Find the meaning by asking, why am I having such a strong reaction to what is being said or what I'm reading? Why am I reacting so strongly? Do that internal work and then share what you find there. I'm most interested in what you find there, not on your first immediate reaction. Name calling does nothing to move the conversation forward. And so I reserve the right to completely ignore and even block anyone who seemingly wants to only name call. Otherwise, I am so happy to engage with you as you explore and examine what you find within yourself. With that, I'd like to welcome you once again to this video series, Healing from Racism, Lessons from the Tao Te Ching, and I will see you in the next video where I will begin with verse number 1.